What's the What's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, aka Tony Dunn, and this is the C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Thank you for joining us every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. for the hottest Panthers podcast, bringing you that Carolina talk from the fan perspective. I'm here with some of my favorite people from most ethnicity to least ethnicity. What's up, my man? That freaking Puerto Rican. How you doing, Joe?
Tony, I'm doing great. It is, as usual, a pleasure to be amongst friends. We get to talk Panthers football. We get to talk Panthers playoff football. We get to talk Panthers playoff football against the Seahawks. I don't know that life can be much better.
And to my boy on the West Coast, we started where the sun rises and now where it sets. How's it going, Mel?
Oh, everything's going well, man. Going well. Great time to be
Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Hey, I'm Aaron Ford, a.k.a. Mel Mayock. You know, I'm just happy to be here, man. This is I'm actually kind of conflicted, though, I got to say. You know, I felt like going into the game last week that, man, we're playing with house money. We got in on a losing record. We're just happy to be there. But, man, get a taste of that victory. I'm not happy to be here anymore. I want more.
Oh, yeah. In fact, that's the name of the podcast tonight. We want more. We put out, I thought, was a very kind of like artistic video to paint it black with the Rolling Stones about how we were going to take down Arizona, and I ended it with "We want more." So, and if you want more, man, I've got a tremendous show for you guys in store tonight. After the most dominant defensive performance in playoff history, the Panthers have advanced and on their way to Seattle to play the Seahawks for the fourth time in 3 years. We're going to get to break down the playoff win against Arizona and preview this Seahawks game. We've got special guests tonight, a Seahawks sports writer from Sports Quotient, Anthony Nipert. He'll join us at 10:15 for our second segment. And then we'll get that West Coast perspective there from the enemy. But also, around 10:30, we're going to have Panthers starting cornerback Bene Benwikere, a.k.a. Sticky Wiki. He'll join the C3 podcast to discuss this Panthers run to the playoff and his rookie season. Great guy, so we're really excited to have him on the show.
And as always, I cannot wait for that. That's going to be hot.
Well, I've been jumping out of my skin like he jumps out the gym. But as always, we'll get our cracks in. But before, with our Ice Up Sun at the end, Fact or Fiction, we got a ton of things to cover. So, before we jump right in, everybody, be sure to follow us on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Like our Facebook page, Carolina Cat Chronicles. And if you're watching on YouTube, just go ahead and sub up. And if you have to listen later, it's cool. Check us out, iTunes, Stitcher. You can download us in the car, or listen to us in the car or in the gym. It's just go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com. All those options are there. Just hit podcast and go ahead and click the best option for you. Be sure to give us a cool review while you're there. Also, great news for Amazon shoppers. You can help C3 grow by shopping on Amazon with no added expense to you. Just go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and click the Shop Amazon tab. It takes you to Amazon.com. You shop, and they give us a small reward for sending you there. They just want to know that you got there through us. It's that simple. There are no added costs to you. You get great stuff on Amazon, and you help a small business grow. We really appreciate it. Hey, you could even tell us what you got. We'll read it out on the show if you'd like. Especially if it's some cool Panther gear. Well, so, with all of that out of the way, guys, I want to go ahead and turn this over. The most dominant playoff defensive performance in playoff history. 78 total yards, I believe, on offense. The Carolina Panthers put down the Arizona Cardinals. Joe, give me your initial reactions on that game.
Wow. That's really how you can sum it up defensively as wow. That defense really showed you the level of play that they can live up to. We knew they were good, but that really shows you something. The Cardinals, I guess the week before, had like 300 and something yards passing, a touchdown pass. So it's not like this offense couldn't move the ball or was incapable of it. We just pretty much shut them down. All phases of the defense was good. The pass rush, the coverage, the linebacker play, everything was really hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, I mean, the secondary looked great. The linebackers were flying around the field. The pass rush. Mel, what's your initial reaction to that beatdown that was put down defensively? It was a manhandling, 27-16. I feel like the score was closer than the game, or I won't say closer than the game was, because it wasn't as it wasn't as dominant feeling early on. You know, I mean, go into the half down a point. And it seemed like we did it to ourselves, though. What are your initial thoughts about seeing that defensive performance? Was this the best Carolina defensive performance you've ever seen?
Well, you know, I got to say, I have learned that I'm not a good judge of how the game goes after just watching it the first time, because I'm too nervous the entire game. Right? I mean,
yeah, you like almost don't even, you barely pay attention, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like overwhelmed.
Yeah. But I have gone back and watched it again, and I got to tell you, man, you know, Joe, you said it well. Everybody was working. Every phase of the defense was working extremely well. I mean, last year, let's face it, we were good because our pass rush was there. The Kraken, Big Money, Star, they were getting after everybody up the middle and just, you know, wreaking havoc. And our defensive backs weren't necessarily that good, but they looked better. And then they went on to big paydays. But man, I tell you, with the rise of Sticky Wicky and Josh Norman and Trey Boston and even Roman Harper, I mean, the guys are playing well. They're playing real well. And the pass rush is there. The linebackers are flying around. I got to say, it was the best team defensive performance I've ever seen the Panthers put together.
It was so refreshing. I mean, I thought that defense on that field, now you can say that they were not playing the most potent offense in the world, but I felt like when I watched them work as a unit that they looked better than the unit did last year. And so what you saw last year was a team that, with that front four and then the linebackers behind them, was so dominant that it could cover up so many different inadequacies in the secondary. And I felt like the defensive pass rush was there. I didn't feel like it was as overwhelming as it may have been at times last year, but it was powerful. Yep. And then at the same time, the secondary looked good, and you're starting to see Luke Kuechly and these guys get to do what they do best, and that is react to the game rather than being required to make up for other guys' inadequacies or mistakes and things like that. And we see when Luke struggles, it's because he's had to do those things. When Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly are at their best, they get to just do whatever the hell they want, and we love that. So,
since week 13, man, when Sticky Wicky's been healthy and Josh Norman's really come into his own and Trey Boston came back, we've got like one of the very best secondaries. I mean, you know, we might touch on this later, but Sticky Wicky's ranked number 1. Josh Norman's ranked number 8 in the entire league in the last 5 weeks of the season. That gives our linebackers a lot more freedom, as you say, to do whatever the hell they want. They don't have to worry about covering up their sins. They just get out there and fly around and have fun.
Yeah, and that is, having fun is the key to it. Joey, was this just dominant defense, or was this a lot of Arizona just being bad?
Well, like I said, we know they can put up yards. They put up 300 yards the week before against the Niners. You know, San Francisco their defense is not what it once was, but it's still pretty good. So they put up 300 yards passing, a couple scores. They can move the ball, you know, they have no running game, or none to speak of at least. But where their strongest unit on offense has always been the receivers. And they have their full complement of receivers. They didn't have time to use to use them properly, and they were covered. Now there were a few throws that Lindley missed. The one to Fitzgerald in the end zone is the one that really sticks into my head. But you know, we still had to go out there and stop them from making plays, and for the most part, we were successful.
Yeah, I mean they did get in the end zone. I
Yeah,
mean we helped them. We helped them get down the field. That was our gift to them. But at the same time, I think you're right. Is that you can't underestimate just how big and good Larry Fitzgerald and Malcolm Floyd are. And yes, Larry Fitzgerald is on the back end of his career. There's rumors that he could even be a Carolina Panther next year, crazily, or that people would like to. Not rumors that he will be, but what you're seeing is that he's no schlub. And if you guys remember, 6 years ago he beat us by himself essentially. Him and
pretty
Kurt
much.
Warner just annihilated us. So I think you have to give credit to stopping 78 yards. It's one thing to put up a good defensive performance, but this was a smothering and suffocating performance. Aaron, let's go to you on this. Was this Arizona being bad, or was this pretty much primarily Carolina being good?
Well, hey, I want to make the point that San Francisco, who has a pretty daggum good defense, not what they were a year ago, but they're still a pretty daggum good defense. Arizona put up 300 yards on them passing the week before. So, and we proved earlier in the year when we were playing bad defense, you didn't have to be good to put up big numbers,
Hmm.
right? I mean, we controlled how good our opponent was. Arizona definitely has their flaws and their weaknesses. They're hurt. But, man, we went out there and we did what we had to do. So it was a little bit of both. But, man, if we looked good. I think Seattle's going to have a little bit of a surprise coming.
Okay, we're going to get into that in deep. Second segment comes up at 10:15. We got Anthony Nipert from Sports Quotient. Also, the big reveal, 10:30, around 10:30. Third segment, guys. Bene Benwikere, Sticky Wiki's going to join us. So stick around. All you viewers, tweet the show at #C3. I'm going to give each of you guys a minute to comment on the offensive performance against Arizona. And what we're going to do is we're going to come back and break this down in depth a little bit more later in the show. Joe, let's open up with you. What did you see out of Carolina's offense? Were you disappointed, moderate, mild? What do you got?
I like the passing game. I like the running game. That's something I think we need to stick with and make full use of. One thing I didn't like was I didn't like how we didn't use Cam. I didn't think enough in the running game. I really think it helps the offensive rhythm and flow if we get him started running the ball early in the game. Let him get a few carries, let him get some positive yardage, make a play or two, and then you find his passes are more accurate, he makes better decisions, and the offense tends to run better after he's gotten his juices flowing, so to speak.
Mel, jump in there, 30 seconds.
All right, man. I think Joe read my notes, man. I mean, Cam's got to get involved running early, settle his nerves down a little bit, and hey, Cam missed some throws too. But man, picking up 3rd and 12 by his feet by himself changes our offense, man. So there were some pluses, but we can't make the same mistakes going into Seattle.
Yeah, I like the idea of getting Cam more involved, but it's been fortunate that we haven't had to have him more involved. We were able to win 2 games in a row without him being phenomenal. We're going to get a lot into Cam Newton later. I thought that this was, the run game is impressive. I thought the Carolina offense, yes, we would like it to be more explosive. We'd like it to be more dynamic. You're a little worried about Philly Brown injury, but what we had though was a performance. If we can play like that later on, it will win games. We will win games defensively, offensively. We will get it done. So, what we got here, guys, is Joey, comment on the offensive line and how you saw their play.
I really like what I'm seeing from this offensive line. They're very, very, very physical. They are relentless. I think the level of play just across the board has come up, even from old Turnstile himself, Byron Bell. I think his play has actually been raised a little bit because of who's around him. And I just can't say enough about those guys. To come from anonymity, some of them, Norwell and Remmers in particular, and make such a tremendous difference like they have. It really speaks volumes to the eye for talent I guess Gettleman has.
All right. Anthony Nipert, Sports Quotient, welcome to the show. Seattle Seahawks writer. Did I get the pronunciation of your last name right? Oh, we can't hear your mic, unfortunately. So what we got, Joey, is that the offense, while Anthony gets his mic together, hopefully, what we'll get is the offensive line. I mean, they played a important a good pass rush, one that can throw good blitzes, mix things up, a good coaching staff that can confuse guys. So just give us a thumbs up, Anthony, when you think you got your mic right. And what we're going to do is, I think that, this team is starting to gel some. It's starting to come together. It's starting to play as a team. So give us a sound check, Anthony. Can you hear us? We can't hear you, unfortunately, but we can hear you can hear us, obviously. All right, Mel, jump in there and talk about the offense. Maybe Anthony, jump out and try jumping back in.
And Anthony, I noticed the mute sign come up for you. Just make sure you're not muted on your microphone there.
Mel, talk about the offensive line and what you thought you saw out of that performance against Arizona and that pass rush. You know Arizona pretty well.
I do. There's a lot of coverage of Arizona Cardinals out here in Las Vegas where I live, and I've been to a game or two down there. They're a well-coached, fundamentally sound, strong football team. I mean, Calais Campbell is a giant of a man. 6'7", 295 pounds. I mean, he's a big dude. And what I saw from our offensive line is just great communication, right? You think back to the first Atlanta Falcons game. First play of the game, Nate Chandler blocks the wrong guy, and Cam Newton gets in his first car wreck, it felt like to him. I mean, he got
lit up. Yeah.
He really did. That kind of stuff's not happening anymore. I mean, we're picking up double A-gap blitzes. We're picking up, all these fancy schemes, the stunts. We're picking them up, and we're doing well. It's exciting to see. And Byron Bell, he's having his moments, but he still gets beat on the speed rushes to the inside. But, we're putting the running backs over there to help him out. I mean, it's just a much more complete offensive blocking scheme than we've had.
I saw somebody say that you can count on Byron Bell for one hold and getting one beat badly once a game. But to be honest, I think I can handle that as long as the hold doesn't come at too terrible of a time. And I think that's one thing that I saw this week that I did not like. What I did not like about this was the amount of penalties we had against Arizona. I felt like we have been playing a better game recently, or a cleaner game. We were sloppy early on in the season, and maybe that the penalties that arose, I felt like we got over that, and I felt a lot of penalties came up. Let's see if this works one last time. If not, we're going to have to try another night. Anthony, hello. No good. All right, well, we'll come back to you another time. I'm sorry, man. Guys, what we got is this. We're going to bring in Bene Benwikere, though, for an interview later on in the show. I was hoping to get the Seattle take.
But you know what I think he was doing there, hey, Professor? In all fairness, I think he was simulating what you can hear in the huddle there in Seattle during the playoff.
True. I mean, okay, let's make our final comments. Let's make our final comments about the Arizona Cardinals game, and we'll move on past that. We got about 10 minutes before Bene comes on. I know that's what people are excited to get into. So, Joey, what do you want Panther fans? What do you want them to know about this game?
I want them to know that the team that we saw, the defense that we saw in particular, is a defense that can show up every week. Um, this is not the same Panthers team the Seahawks played in Week 8. Now, I saw somebody tweeted, or there was an article. I think it was Carolina Huddle, I think, that put up an article about who played in that first Seattle game and the number of snaps that they took. And it was all like Kason and
Velasco.
all these people that don't play anymore, that are either on the bench or have been released. And they were playing like 30 plays, 28 plays, 26 plays. They were playing significant amounts of time. And now we have a whole new group of people. It's like a different team, literally, like a different team that will be out there this week. I know Seattle is very good. There's no denying that. But this Panthers team is playing good football right now. And, I said that they have the eye of the tiger. And I really believe that. I really believe they do have the eye of the tiger. They're hungry, and they're not satisfied.
At least the eye of the panther.
Right. The eye of the panther. They're not satisfied with what they've accomplished now. They're proud of what they've done, but they're not satisfied. And that's what you want to see out of your team.
Aaron, I want to ask you about Cam Newton's struggles. He struggled in the playoff game, kind of sort of against San Francisco, especially later in the game. I struggled. A lot of people have called it a bad game that he played against the Arizona Cardinals. How do you feel about Cam Newton's performance so far, particularly against Arizona?
I don't think he had his best game against Arizona. I think he was uptight. I think he felt the defensive pressure. Again, Arizona's a very good defensive team. When he feels the pressure, he needs, going back to what we said earlier, man, you got to get him running early. Let him settle down, and I think that even changes the defense. I think they loosen their pressure up a little bit. They sit back on their heels a little bit, allows him to step into his throws, be a little bit more patient, a little bit more accurate. That's what they're going to have to do against Seattle. Now, our Twitter follower out there, Cassie, just tweeted into us. She said, you want Cam to play better, tell everybody, and this is quote, tell them to stop dropping the damn passes. Start catching the ball.
Hey, our good friend, Mr. T Money, 1993, he just tweeted that list. And here's the big numbers. Fernando Velasco, 62 snaps.
Jeez.
Antoine Cason, 63 snaps.
That's the whole game.
Thomas Deku, 43 snaps.
Oh, there's the problem.
So right there, I mean, just looking at those three, okay, those three do not contribute to this team anymore. Nate Chandler, 36 snaps. Jason Avant, 33 snaps. David Folkall, remember him, the Canadian, the Thor
Big
guy?
Frenchie.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened to him?
He had 31 snaps that game. Lord have mercy. No wonder we lost.
Security for Cam Newton now.
Right, pretty much.
Yeah.
But that just, that shows you the team that we played then is not the same team.
But you know what? Cassie brought up a great point, though. I mean, look at the drops that Benjamin's had. Look at the stop route Cotchery had across the middle. I mean, those types of things we cannot do. We're going to have to catch everything. We're going to have to run smart routes. They're going to have to be on the same page. Because one thing I've noticed about Seattle, looking at them pretty hard this week, looking at their record and their stats in Pro Football Focus, is they're a team. They're not. Everybody talks about Richard Sherman. They're much more than that. There's no one player. There's only one player on Seattle that's in the top 5 of any given category, and that's Marshawn Lynch with 1,300 plus rushing yards. Everybody else is not in the top 5 in interceptions or anything else, but they are number 1 in defense, number 1 in pass defense, number 3 in rush defense, number 1 overall. They play as a team. They're pretty solid. So we can't turn the ball over. We can't drop passes. We're going to win this game.
All right, Bene Benwikere going to join us in 5 minutes. Here's my thoughts on Cam Newton in this game. Is that I'm with Aaron. This wasn't his best game, but it certainly wasn't his worst game. I think that I'll get a lot to this in my ice up pick tonight. is that, I mean, people want Cam to play a certain way. They want him to be, and I hate when people say, oh, football's not like a video game, but then they ask quarterbacks to be like Madden-esque quarterbacks that are putting up crazy numbers, throwing the ball 40 times and this and that. Is Cam Newton, yeah, he missed on some passes. Yes, he made we had that one interception which looked like a miscommunication between him and Jericho. A lot of people are saying this is that Jericho didn't run the route properly. Other people are saying, hey, Jericho's the veteran. He knew what to do in that situation, and Cam made the mistake. It doesn't matter, really. It was a mistake but overall, I felt like Cam played not only well enough, is that he did some very important things in that game that people aren't giving him enough credit for.
Yep.
I mean, this guy's making a lot out of nothing at times. The 3rd and 9 run you mentioned earlier in the show. But when you look at some of the incomplete passes or even the completed passes, those receivers, now, granted, they were going against one of the top secondary, a very talented secondary in Arizona. But there is so little room for error on Cam's part. I mean, Jericho Cotchery isn't getting separation from anybody. Brenton Burson isn't getting separation from anybody. Kelvin Benjamin, his size helps, but also I think here's two things and to point out is I didn't feel that Kelvin Benjamin had a very big role in this offensive game plan, nor did I feel that Greg Olsen played a large enough role. Two guys that I think are going to have to play remarkably well in Seattle. So, no, am I going to give Cam Newton an A+, but I'm not going to give him the D that a lot of guys on ESPN are going to give him in the national media. I feel like, hey, a lot of people are upset that he celebrated with the team after the game because he didn't play as well as they did. And I think you win as a team. I think you win as a team and you lose as a team.
Yeah.
So, I think that Cam Newton, I think this is good, though, for Cam Newton. I think Cam Newton maybe can get some of the jitters out in this game. He gets that one playoff win behind him. Yes, he didn't win it entirely, but he shouldn't have to, and I think that we want him. Everybody requires him to be Superman, where we just need him to be Super Cam. And so, we want to see him play better. But here's what I don't want to see against Seattle. What he did against Arizona, it didn't turn out so bad, but he did it against Seattle the first week or the first time we played, and that is when there's nothing, he tries the boneheaded shuffle pass, whatever it is, trying to flip it, that turns into a disaster. Is that I'd rather see Cam take the sack or Cam
chuck it out of bounds.
Throw it out of bounds. I mean, he's got enough arm strength. So on those last notes, why don't we go ahead and welcome in? We're gonna jump to our next segment. Interview with starting corner Bene Benwikere, a C3 exclusive. I'd like to welcome starting cornerback for the Carolina Panthers, Bene Benwikere, to the C3 podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on.
Man, we're really excited to have you here, and we want to ask you a few questions. We know you're busy, so we try not to take up too much of your time. How was your first year of the NFL gone compared to what you thought it would be? I mean, you're a California guy, and now you've moved across the country. You went from college athlete at San Jose State to professional and now starter in the NFL. How do you describe this transition, and did you see yourself having such an important role in your rookie season?
It's definitely a dream come true. It's a surreal moment because, honestly, going through the draft and understanding where I got drafted in 5th round, a later round pick, I know there was a window there for me to get on the team and become an important role player on the team. But honestly, I just kind of was just expecting to kind of focus my way to work a minimal role on the team. Always looking forward to becoming a starter, trying to go in and make plays and be a success in my rookie year. But at the same time, I constantly was told, how hard it is. There's a lot of guys who are older, they're vets, they're smarter, they're faster, they hit harder, all these just different things. So as I was able to come into my own and just kind of go through this year and kind of, have a locker room how we do with the Panthers and have the vets encourage me and actually, kind of cheer me and praise for me to get on the field, it's been a great feeling just to know that I got a lot of support from guys, who didn't even know me a full year ago.
Yeah, it seems like the team has really embraced you, and I know that the fan base as well. Was Carolina on your radar prior to being selected?
During my pre-draft workout with the Panthers, I was able to work out with the DB coach, Coach Wilk, and was able to get a special visit from Coach Ron Rivera and watching me do my workout, and they listened to me as we explained, different coverages and things just during the whole process. And when they left, I immediately went to my head coach of the San Jose State Spartans and my DB coach, who I'm really close with, of the Spartans, and I immediately told him, I would love to go play for their team. Just the knowledge that their DB coach seems to display and the calm, cool collectiveness that their head coach seems to display, I think that'll be a good place that I fit. And I had already heard about the dominating defense that they had here, and my coach and I, we looked at different stats, different things that were going on through the games, through the season last year, and just kind of understood that this is a good place to kind of be and understand. I would learn a lot from guys on the team, especially with the free agents that they picked up, being in Thomas Deku, Roman Harper, and Antoine Case when he was here. So it was a great place, and I was definitely looking forward to coming here. So when my name got called, it was a joy.
Yeah, we were excited about that. What do you think about your style of play that fits so well with the Carolina defense?
Really, I think it's just my knowledge, because one thing that I keep getting, talked to about is just the understanding of the game and the knowledge, and being able to have vision and understanding what's going on, not just, being a deer in headlights, So I'm out there, and I'm able to, communicate with Luke, Roman, Thomas Davis, even the D-line, and Charles Johnson and KK and Starr and Dewan Edwards, and I'm able to, intellectually talk to them about what I see is going on out there on the field, and make checks and calls. So I think they like that. They admire that I'm a young guy, but I'm able to talk to them as if I've been in the game for a number of years and able to play fast and use my instincts to make plays on the ball.
That definitely shows up and translates for us, and as fans, we can see that because we've seen, it's something we covered. When we cover you guys so closely and we break you down for everything, how high you jump, how fast you run. But both you and Trey Boston, one of the things that stuck out is how heady of players you are. And when you get to the NFL, it's not just about the physical attributes, but really being able to understand and process the game. And it's really helped you out, and it shows. We wanted to ask you about some of your high school guys. You played with some names that are nationally known: Robert Woods for the Bills, Marquise Lee for the Jags, Paul Richardson from the Seahawks, who you might have to play this Sunday. What's your relationship with these guys like?
We all actually have a really, really good relationship. We talk to each other every couple weeks, kind of just check in, just to understand how we're doing. Really, Paul and I, we've known each other probably the longest because Paul Richardson from the Seahawks, because we played basketball together. I mean, maybe we were like 5 or 6 years old. So Paul and I constantly checking on each other, always, watching each other's games and encouraging one another. And then I also played Pop Warner football with Robert Woods and Paul Richardson. So that's an extension of time that I've been knowing them. We ended up going to the same high school where I met Marquise Lee, and Marquise is just a fun-loving guy that he's always there by your side, and he's very concerned for you and just a very open person. So we've all made really good connections, and then by Robert Woods and Marquise Lee going to the same college, they've able to be in touch, over the many years, and they are gotten an even closer relationship than I have with them. But I do talk to them at least every couple of weeks. Matter of fact, I just talked to Marquise and Paul and Robert all this week, so it's been a great time. We all keep up with each other, and we've enjoyed watching each other grow up and learn from one another.
That's awesome. Let me ask you a question. You got to answer it honestly. Which one of you guys can jump the highest?
Honestly, I believe Marquise might be able to jump the highest. Marquise Lee might be able to jump the highest.
No way. You can jump out the gym, man.
I definitely can. But, I mean, just the things that we used to do in high school and the different dunks that we all used to kind of do, playing basketball together, Marquise had some pretty amazing dunks he was doing.
What do you think about the nickname Sticky Wicky?
Actually, I like it. When I first heard it, I was actually reading, I believe, a tweet and an article, and I was reading with my mother, and we both just gave like a big chuckle because I find a way to the ball, so it was an intriguing name, and I actually enjoy that name. When people ask me nicknames that I've been given by fans or by anybody, that's actually the first name that pops in my head because I think that one and Big Play Bene are two good ones.
Yeah, we saw you do an interview with Charlotte Vibe, and you mentioned it. And you also gave us a thumbs up at training camp when we hollered it like crazy fans from the background. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you'll look out in the crowd and see some Sticky Wicky shirts next year. Look, after the Minnesota game, you were given a much larger role in this defense, and you've run with that. And you got your first interception against Drew Brees was amazing. Some say it set the tone for our late season run. How did it feel, to come down with that pick against Drew Brees?
In the moment, it felt great just to be able to, defense. Just before that, we had just got a turnover by Josh Norman. He forced a fumble. So just to come back right on the very first play of the next series and get an interception, I think, defense, just at the start of that game, I think we had a talk after Minnesota game, just the defense in general, and we talked about, starting to be a dominant defense and getting back to playing that role. So being able to contribute and kind of spark that and, give that confidence to the rest of the defense even further, that was a great feeling. And I think that also gave me a big boost of confidence to get an interception on an elite quarterback in this National Football League. And so now when I'm out there, I play with another confidence, another high, just, waiting for a quarterback to throw the ball my way.
That's great. You almost had two that game, if I remember right.
Yes, I did. The receiver was able to pull it away from me.
Man, I thought it was so close. I thought you had it. We look over these, because we follow this like crazy nerds. And if you look at ProFootballFocus.com, which is like the website that breaks down every movement and play, right now you're rated the #1 corner since week 13 when you took the starting job. Did you know that? And how does it feel? How do you feel hearing that?
Can you repeat the last little bit?
Yeah, is that you're rated the #1 corner since week 13 by ProFootballFocus.com. That's since when you took the starting job over, I believe. How's that feel to hear that you're playing that at that high of a level?
Oh, that's great. Actually, right now, like one thing that I don't like to read too much about myself. As far as when it comes to, stats or anything like that. So that's actually my first time knowing that right now. I had no clue. So that's an awesome feeling, and to hear that and to understand that. That's an amazing feeling. The thing that I do like to read when I'm reading articles or looking at things is to kind of see what people say about us, because I like to hear either the doubters and how bad they want to talk about it, because that gives me fuel for games. But to actually hear that, a positive thing right there, that's pretty good. I didn't even know. Thank
Yeah,
you for that.
it's awesome. What do you think you've done that's off the field that has helped to facilitate that success?
You said, what do I think I've done off the field or on the field?
Yeah. Like, what do you think in prepping? Is it, is this when you get to that high of a level? Is it something that goes on in the film room or in the meetings and practice time, or is it really just an instinctual thing on the field and you're just feeling it? You're just in a groove.
That comes all from study, because your instincts, they can only take you so far, but you're only allowed to act on your instincts when you have some knowledge of what's going on. So there's a lot of things that I do as far as I watch film. I critique film, I analyze film, I look at the film. Coaches do a very good job of breaking things down and setting up a great game plan as to putting guys in the right positions now just to make plays and be aggressive and play to their style. But I think the two biggest things that for me have been able to, get me really rolling these last couple of weeks and play faster and smarter. Usually after every game, I watch film with Roman Harper and break down film with him as to what he saw, what I could have did better, what he could have done better, what somebody else in another position could have done better, and just kind of listen to him talk and get an understanding of how the secondary works together as a whole and how we fit off of what the guys in front of us do as far as the linebackers and the D-line, and how, if they do something wrong, we're the cleaner-uppers, So that's one key thing. And then also, the other thing that I do is before we go into games, I make sure that I watch film with Luke Kuechly, and because he has an extensive knowledge of the game inside and out, run, pass, he just knows it. And there's a lot of concepts that he's been through playing, these few years, and he's just a very smart person. So when I talk to him, he's able to tell me key concepts that other teams like to run, their favorite targets, as far as where they like to, get the ball at, where they like to get them the ball at, what downs. And so now when I watch film on my own, those are the things that I'm looking for. I'm looking for how I can improve something better. What are DBs that I'm watching guard the receiver I'm on, how they did something that I can improve, and kind of understanding when I expect the guy in front of me to get the ball based on down and distance, or just the situation in the game as a whole.
That's really great to hear for us, is because, we hear Roman Harper's name a lot when it comes to leadership, and that's why he was brought into this team. And then we also hear Luke Kuechly as taking over a leadership role and kind of the changing, the new kind of coming of leaders. And so that's great to hear. I've got two last questions for you. How do you feel about Saturday night's matchup? And does having a mobile quarterback like Russell Wilson change what you do as a defensive back?
No, I don't think it changes what I do as a defensive back, but most definitely I need to make sure I hone in as far as understanding that the play isn't, just going to last for 5 seconds. It's not going to be just a quick setup, hand the ball up, or a quick setup and throw it and, 3-step drop. He can hold the ball. He can get away from the linemen and linebackers and kind of extend plays to look downfield and get a receiver maybe streaking down the field or coming back to the ball. So it just tells me to get my eyes even more focused and follow my receiver around, whether I have to follow him sideline to sideline or half anywhere, just making sure I follow him, I track my guy. And the closer I am to my receiver, the more likely I can defend him from getting the ball. So that's just, you don't change anything as a defense. You don't change anything as a DB. But, you just lock in a little bit more and, use that success to your advantage and understand that, they're a very good team, and it's going to be a good defensive matchup that's going on. Hopefully, they come out and they're able to, let their offense is going to come out and make smart plays, and our offense is going to come out and make smart plays too. So we just have to understand that and just remain composed throughout the whole game.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be a schoolyard brawl if it's anything like the last three. Last question for you. I think the team started 7 rookies against Arizona, and we had a really tough. And the Carolina Panthers had a tough stretch through October and November. Do you think that kind of those obstacles and that hardship help you guys as rookies grow up fast and this team to come together?
I really don't think the losses, helped made us grow faster or anything like that. But I definitely think the mentors that are in the locker room, as far as like Greg Olsen and like Ryan Khalil and Thomas Davis, Luke, like Roman, I think their bounce back and their attitude after each of these losses and understanding that not everything's going to go the way you want. Them talking to us and kind of making sure that we don't hang our heads. I think that's a big thing. But also, our coaches staff, from coordinators as far as like Sean McDermott and DB coach, Coach Wilkes, and head coach Ron Rivera, they did a really good job in, giving us things, giving us tools, lessons to learn from each game. And then the leaders in the locker room, made sure that rookies understand what coaches were saying. They reiterated what coaches were saying in the locker room to get us to understand it and keep our mentality, locked and ready to play each week. It's not about just not giving up on the season. So, and we proved it. Now we're here and we have a playoff, and records don't matter as far as regular season. Now we're in a win it or go home.
Well, man, you guys really stuck in there, and it shows some real internal fortitude for this team, and we're really excited about how much success you've had this season. Mr. Benwikere, I hope I can call you Sticky Wiki. Thank you so much for joining the C3 podcast.
Oh, no worries. You can call me Sticky Wiki all you want.
All right. Well, man, hopefully we can catch up with you after these playoffs are over and and hear about all the success.
Definitely. Thank you. You guys have a good evening.
You too. Thank you. Guys, Sticky Wiki, Mr. Sticky Wiki. If you followed the Twitter feed during that interview, I think Susan really hit the nail on the head when she said, like, after talking with this guy or listening to him, you only think that much more highly of him. And let me ask you this. He's a fan favorite going into this week. After that interview, what do you think that does for his fan favoritism?
Man, I tell you, for me, shoot, was Christmas really 2 weeks ago? I mean, it felt like Christmas morning all over again. I mean, this guy, how did he last to the 5th round? I mean, this guy is so smart, so confident, and so humble all at the same time. Man, I'm just honored and happy that he joined us tonight, and then he's a part of the Panther family, man. I'm excited. That was awesome.
I felt like he really opened up to us. Joey, how did you feel about that interview?
Yeah, he opened up like a book, Tony. He was articulate. He was he wasn't reserved in any way whatsoever.
No. He came out and laid it all out for us.
Yeah, it felt like he was a friend, like we'd known him, for years. But yeah, I think his fan favoritism is only going to get higher because of that. I know amongst the three of us, it can't be any higher now.
Right.
We already held him in high esteem coming into the interview, but after the interview, just.
But in all fairness, though, guys, let's don't give the guy too much credit. I mean, he was interviewed by a rising star. What was it, last week during the interview? He got a lot of, the professor got a lot of praise for that interview. We are the C3 network. We're the #1 fan-driven website for the Panthers out there. But I'm waiting for somebody like, I don't know, WFNZ or CBS to come in and swoop away the professor who keeps these kind of interviews going.
Exactly.
Let me put the professor back on cam right now, first of all. And, I like to say this. Couple of things that stuck out to me. Number one, I'm going to give you guys a little secret, is that he got off the phone. His interview right before C3 was with CBS. So what's that tell you about the C3 network on the rise, baby? Another thing is a lot of things I learned. I learned a lot talking with Sticky Wiki. One of the things I did, and I'm going to go ahead and give a professorial apology to Roman Harper for how hard I was on him throughout the season, calling him old bones. I did, my fight originally started with, hey, you got to follow me, and he did. So I like that, he followed me. I thought maybe this is exact. He told us what Dave Gettleman did. He told us exactly why Dave Gettleman brought in Roman Harper, and it was for this very moment in the season of tutoring guys like Trey Boston and Bene Benwikere and making these guys players or helping them, kind of come into their own. Well, that's one thing I liked out of this. Number two thing, that his description of Luke Kuechly, how impressive was that?
That was pretty cool on a lot of levels, right?
Very.
Talk about Luke Kuechly like a 10-year vet.
Yep. How cool is that to have a guy like that on our team? Third year in.
Yes, and like the professor up in there. The other thing, and this was my favorite answer of it all, was when I asked him if the hardship of the season had helped them grow up faster, and he said losing didn't.
He's like, you got time for losing. There you go.
I know. There's a real confidence there. Joey, any last comments on the Sticky Wiki interview, and then I'll let Mel jump in and we'll move on.
No, I think he made an impression on people who heard the interview. I think he made an impression, and a positive one. And I think the fact that he does study film with Luke Kuechly and the fact that Benwikere is a rookie speaks to his level of intelligence. He's got to be a smart guy. If he knows, how well Luke breaks down game film, then that's the guy to go watch it with. That speaks to his intelligence.
He can perceive the guys that he needs to be around.
Exactly.
And that's important. I mean, there's some soft skills in life. That's what they call them, I guess, in when you're training people for jobs and things. It's not do you meet job credentials. The hard skills in the NFL are the measurables. Can you do the job physically? But there's these soft skills if you're in an interview and things, and it's personality. It's being able to have a sense for these things. And after that interview, he's got it. He's got it. And I just only think that he can be. When I hung up the phone, Joey, guys, I thought, man, this guy's going to be even better than I could have imagined. And I thought he was going to be good. Mm-hmm. So, it's like, any last thoughts, Mel, before we go on to Seattle?
Well, something that struck me, man, is, I look back to my high school days, and I think about the basketball teams and the football teams that we had, and the only one that went pro in anything was Dustin Runnels, who is now Gold Dust on the WWE. We didn't have anybody go to the NFL, right? You think about that team that he was on in high school, both basketball and football, with Robert Woods, Paul Richardson, who he's known since he was 5, and Pop Warner, and Marquise Lee out there at the Jaguars. And himself, I mean, good Lord have mercy. 4 guys starting on their basketball team that all went to the NFL.
That's amazing.
He was originally a wide receiver, Bene was, and he switched to defensive back because of those 3 guys that were ahead of him on the depth chart.
God, imagine how, maybe that's why he's so damn good. He had to defend those kids early on.
Yeah, no kidding. And it's going to be something to see him. He's going to be matched up against his childhood buddy that he played Pop Warner with. And when I think back to my Pop Warner buddies, man, I mean, if each of us had a chance to play in the NFL and go against each other, that's got to be a dream come true.
Yeah. Last comment goes to the nickname Sticky Wiki. While C3 has worked hard to push this nickname out there, I believe, and if it's been so long since the NFL draft, we put out a question on Facebook about, can we conjure up some nicknames about these guys? And the Sticky Wiki nickname originated, it was a suggestion offered by Facebook legend Kevin Avery.
That's
So I want
right.
to give him a credit. That dude, I'm telling you one thing, is anything he touches is golden. Now, the C3 has latched on to the Sticky Wiki nickname, and you can go back, and that tweet that he referenced, by the way, was mine. And the artwork that I did on day one, he was the first guy out of the NFL draft, I think, that I did artwork on. So, we're big fans of him. Can't wait to get back on the show. Was awesome that he came on. All right, let's turn it over, guys, and let's move on. We need to talk about okay. Today, Mike Tolbert came out and stated that he found the 11-point spread, 11.5, 12 in some cases, to be insulting. Carolina is going on the road to play Seattle. They've played them 3 times in the last 3 years. This will be the 4th meeting in 3 years. All of those games have been decided by 5 points or less. Do you think that this line is insulting? And I'll start with Mel.
Well, hearing that, I do live right across the street from a casino. So I think after this podcast, I'm going to run across there and I'm going to put down some money because I could use some. I'll take that 11-point spread all day long. Now, granted, those last 3 games were in Carolina. Yep. And we are 7-8-1, and they are 12-4. So I'm not too surprised about the spread, but we do match up very well against this team. You look at them, they are not explosive. I mean, they're not. They got Marshawn Lynch. They got Russell Wilson. Beyond that, they're not very explosive on offense. How you beat this team is you stop the run and you don't turn the ball over. We do that, we're going to not only cover that spread, but we're going to win this game.
Joey, how do you feel about that? I think I read somewhere, and don't quote me on this, that this is the biggest spread in playoff history or something like that. Or one of the larger ones.
I can believe that, that it's one of the larger ones. There have only been 57 with this one, double-digit spreads in the playoffs since 1978.
Wow, look at Joe bringing the fact. Great fact.
That is pretty impressive to think about. And of those 56 previous, only 12 underdogs have won.
Ooh.
So that's a discouraging fact. But when was the last time an underdog beat a double-digit spread? Aaron?
2010.
That's right, 2010. The Seattle Seahawks beat the wild card from the NFC South 11-5.
You know how I know that? I read the articles on catchronicles.com today.
Wow. What a great
irony.
What a great time to mention that. Yes, I did put out an article about this very topic, and I thought it was fitting and apropos that we're going to Seattle as an NFC, as the wild card team, to from the NFC South to play against them as a double-digit underdog. I think it's just perfect.
I love it.
I'm with Mel. I don't find the line terribly surprising. I thought that Vegas might give a little bit more credit to the way these teams match up together, but a lot of times lines are based on the money, so everybody's picking less about the game and just where the money's being being placed. Which, I don't know the ins and outs of that too well, but I will say this is that let's just go ahead and say we've been very close. We've fought hard in these last 3 matchups. They have not performed particularly well against us. Both of our defenses have played well. It's come down to one play, generally late in the 4th quarter, maybe a turnover in the last matchup, but I feel like Carolina's got an excellent shot. I would pick them to cover the spread. What I don't think is I think it's just going to be a replay of the games before because Seattle's offense is just not that good. And outside of Marshawn Lynch, it's not like they're that dynamic, and our offense is the one that struggles. Is that, you could say, hey, Kelvin Benjamin is a more talented receiver than their top receiver. I would say Greg Olson's a better tight end than their tight end. They have the edge in running back, but our defense, while
Not
their
the last
defense,
5 weeks, they don't.
That's true.
that's true. That is true. They have the home advantage. They are the Super Bowl champions. They should be favored, and I am glad they are favored this much. It doesn't bother me one bit, because the Carolina Panthers, and who said it on this show, Bene Benwikere said, and Cassandra 1584 on Twitter pointed this out. That line is going to get these guys fired up. So I'm ready to see this game. I want to see Cam break out. Russell Wilson has not been particularly great against the Carolina Panthers, and now he's going to play a Carolina Panthers team, like we said, that's much better. So I want to read you guys one thing that I saw about this. There was a field, it's called Field Goals, and it is a Seattle Seahawks website, and they were talking about 4 stats that says that Seattle's going to win the game. And they were talking about Cam Newton. One of the things he said this is, quote, Benjamin is clearly not being featured in a role that best suits him, and I would not be surprised to see Carolina draft another receiver in the first round this year. Do you think Carolina Panthers, do you think that we are misusing Kelvin Benjamin? And I'll let you answer this first, Joey.
I would say no overall. You'd like to see him get more jump balls in the end zone. I think you'd like to see more of that, where he has a chance to go up and box somebody out to get a ball. But and overall, I would say no. I think for what he's capable of doing as a rookie right now, I think he's in the proper role.
Straight Facts last night on the Straight Facts podcast. You can check that on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Where he's dominating YouTube at this moment. He says that, hey, he doesn't think that Benjamin is that good at the jump ball and boxing out. He said they need to get him on the basketball court and practice a little bit on that, and that he thinks he would be better served running routes in the red zone. But what we're talking about is play calling in the red zone rather than Benjamin. He's had problems with drops too. He's had 1,000. This is what I don't like about this quote. Benjamin is clearly not being featured in a role that best suits him. He had 1,000 yards in his rookie season.
Right.
If he would have caught 50% of those balls, he would have had 1,500 yards.
How many yards did Steve Smith have in his rookie season? It wasn't 1,000.
No, it wasn't. So what do you think about that, Mel? And we'll move on. Is Benjamin being featured properly?
Well, I don't think he is, but I only think the reason he is not is because he needs another wide receiver to complement him. And we just don't have that other premier type wide receiver that could take coverage away from him, because Benjamin is not a guy that's going to get a lot of separation. He's a big dude. He needs to go across the middle. He's not that number one burning wide receiver. He's got the potential to be great. I really see it. 1,000 yards, man, that's awesome. Take that any time. But I agree with that writer in that I could see us taking a wide receiver in the first round, if not the first, within the first 3. Take another wide receiver to complement him, take some of that pressure off.
Winner of the C3 Fantasy Football Challenge and a Kelvin Benjamin jersey just tweeted in. SC Susan 1516, one of our favorite people, I would call her part of my Twitter family, and she just said, "Hey, everyone tends to forget he's a rookie. Give him time to develop and grow." This is what I gotta say about this guy, is that I think you're right. Is that the only thing that saved him in this article was that he said that we are going to draft another receiver. No problem with that. But what I didn't like is how he just went on to trash the Carolina Panthers offense, and then acting like their defense was going to be just suffocating, while his offense isn't that good. Or, he just completely failed to mention those aspects of the game that our defense is going to do the same thing to them.
How many How many wide receivers on the Seahawks had more yards than Kelvin Benjamin?
None.
None.
I don't even know. I could name one name, and it just escaped me, so I can't even name one name. He caught a touchdown pass against us 3 years ago. I think he's still on the team. But this is what I got to say to old field goals and these Seattle Seahawks fans. It's okay. It's okay. But this is what I got to say to y'all.
Hey, Cow Turd, you are just I don't even have a name for you anymore except Cow Turd.
That's what I got to say. All right. Moving on from that. What? Or you could always say this, another good one.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
But it is time, guys, for, I know some people find, it's for Joey's favorite segment of the show. Backdoor Fiction! That's right, folks. It's Factor Fiction time on the C3 podcast. Right now, Joey Riolano, since it's your favorite, Factor Fiction, Cam Newton struggles against the Seattle defense, and tell us why.
I say fiction, and the reason I say that is Mike Shula puts away the 3 napkins he calls a playbook and starts finally making full use of Cam, and he does it early in the game. He gets Cam rolling with some run plays, some read options, some short passes, and that sets the tone for Cam to have a very good game against the Seattle Seahawks.
Mel, Fact or Fiction, Cam Newton struggles against the Seattle defense.
Fact.
Wow. Tell us why.
Well, I think you got to define struggles, right? I mean, I think we're just drinking Homer Gatorade or Homer Kool-Aid if we're going to say he's going to go out there and light it up, right? I mean, that's the #1 ranked defense, and they're good. Now, he's going to do enough to win, but he's going to struggle, just like Russell Wilson's going to struggle.
Okay. I think that's a good. I'm going to say faction.
There you go.
And the reason is, I think you're right. Is like, what is he going to go out there and put 300 yards up? Doubtful. But what we saw is that played a tough defense with tough corners last week. I think I think he'll be more successful on the ground than he was in the running attack than he was in week 8. He's healthier. The ankle is anyway. I know he's got some other ailments. It's going to be Cam Newton. He's always going to look like the most pained dude ever when he gets up. To me, he's like a creaky, huge dinosaur getting up. To me, or he kind of looks like one of those robots that's always on dang Fox that they've refused to get rid of. But he always looks in pain. He's always looked like that. But I think he's going to get some things moving on the ground. Hopefully, he did, but he didn't play. I don't know. We'll see. I'd like to see him have a good game. I think it's, he's due. He's due for a big game this season. He hasn't had one. Will he? So, faction. Next. Joey. Fact or fiction? Don't take a faction. That sucked. That was a weak answer about me. Fact or fiction? Jonathan Stewart gets over 100 yards rushing in this game.
I'm going to say fact, but it's going to take him 30 carries to do it.
He had we had 40-some carries against the Cardinals.
Right, as a team. Yeah, it's going to take Stewart 30 carries himself to get 100 yards.
All right. Mel, fact or fiction? Jay Stu breaks 100 yards.
I got to say, before I give you my answer, I absolutely love Joe, man. And I love how Joe is such the homer. How many times has he picked against the Panthers or against,
Yeah, he's never picked against the Panthers.
I mean, fact or fiction.
But But T Money would just call him the smartest dude ever because anytime anybody picks against the dang Panthers, T Money's like, yo, you're scared.
All right, well, hey, I'm going to go fiction on that.
Because you hate the Panthers.
I'm going to go fiction.
Oh, he's scared.
He's scared. But you know what? One guy that I want to see more involved, who was pivotal in that Arizona game, was Fozzie Whitaker, baby.
Yes, he was.
Waka.
Get him involved, man. That screen, that was a brilliant piece of running on that touchdown. And that could have very well been the difference in the game. So get him involved. Let Stu get 60, 70 yards. Let Fozzie get 40, 50. We're good.
I'm going to say fiction, even though it's my luckiest time, 11:11 p.m., the very exact moment I was born in the day. I know, crazy. If I told you all the 1s and 11s in my birthday, you would say I was a liar. I think that, I'm going to see him at 80 yards, 78 yards rushing, somewhere in there. Cam making up the difference, though, and being very important in this game. I think he's going to be hard for them. I think this is going to be hard on that secondary, too, because they're going to have to cover, like Bene said, what we have to do against Russell Wilson is that this is what I would like to see Cam get better at, is throwing on the run rather than just running only. And, but if he can extend some plays, that's going to put a little bit more problems on that, or a little bit more pressure on that secondary. But I still am going to say fiction on this. All right, factor fiction. Burson returns punts on Saturday. Joey, go.
It better be fiction.
I'm burning that novel, he said.
Hey, I don't want to see that kid anywhere near a punt that hits the ground. If he can catch it in the air, that's okay. Don't return it, just catch it. And
no, he can't even do that. He bobbles it. It's a disaster.
Right. He just needs to play smarter. That's all it is. Because that was what he was doing on this past Saturday was just plain stupid.
It was.
It's just stupid. I mean, there's no other.
What was that basket? Like a baseball play. It looked like a catcher trying.
Right, trying to stop a wild pitch. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was.
Dumb.
Exactly.
All right, Mel. Factor fiction. Burson is returning punts.
Well, considering Coach Rivera's already come out and said he is returning punts, he said that today, I'm going to go with fact.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for really putting a kibosh on that question.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron.
I'm going fact as well. I'm going fact as well based on Aaron's informed reporting there. And basically, we don't got anybody else. But we talked about this on the Straight Facts podcast last night. Maybe you could consider putting Fozzie out there. Why not? I mean, can it be any worse? I believe that was what.
Did you hear the coach's quote on who the backups are?
I did. I saw it. Tell us, Aaron.
I thought that was pretty cool. He said, Sticky Wicky is the backup. Mm-hmm. I'd be real interested to see that. But he said the backup to the backup is our man Josh Norman. And the quote of the week was, if Josh Norman is back there returning punts, and this is coming from the coach, you better hold on to your shorts.
What the hell does that mean? And if that is true, then put his ass back there. I guess they're worried about him getting hurt.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say one thing. That picture that you put up while the interview was taking place, and it was Benwikere and Philly Brown standing side. But yes, that picture, they were taking punt returns. Remember? That was the training. Training when we were at training camp, and they were taking punt returns that day. So we know Sticky Wicky is capable of being back there. I think it's just an injury factor they're concerned with.
And if you note, Sticky Wicky is given the thumbs up sign there, and that would be when Joey goes, "Hey, Sticky Wicky!" from the fans, and he knew exactly who we were talking to. Like, he didn't, so pretty cool. All right, factor fiction, last one. Benjamin has more than 60 yards receiving. Joey, factor fiction.
I think if we're going to win, we need him too. So I'm going to say fact. I think if we want to win this game, we're going to need him to step up and have a good game. He's been inconsistent the last few weeks, to say the least. We need him to show up this week.
Aaron, fact or fiction? Benjamin has more than 60 yards.
I'm going straight fact on that one. I think he rises to the next level.
Straight facts.
Straight facts. Monday nights, 9 o'clock. Check out T Money on YouTube, man. Lights it up. Bringing nothing but facts. But for this question, straight fact, man, because the last matchup, remember him going over Sherman and Cam Chancellor, pulling that ball down? I think he gets up for the big challenge. And with Philly Brown out, we're going to need him, man. Like Joe said, if we're going to win, we got to have him. So I'm going fact.
Do you think Philly Brown is going to play?
No.
No.
I mean, what's the name of that injury?
It's like he almost got it's close to a dislocated shoulder.
Yeah, I don't see it.
It's like a stretch location.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, man. And that's a big blow. He brings a big dimension where he pulls the safety away from Benjamin a little bit. He softens up. That's a big loss.
Yeah, that's a huge loss. I'm worried. I got blasted on Twitter by a bunch of guys because I suggested that we should trot out Stephen Hill to stretch the field a little bit.
You know what? I'm with you, though, man. The thought is you get somebody who can spread the defense. The dude's big and fast. Just send him deep.
Yeah, I mean, that's all. He doesn't have to run the full route tree. He doesn't have to run anything but a go route. But, I mean, a lot of people are worried and all of this, and they just want to grind it out. I think this, and T-Money was on this, he's the first one to say this last night, is that everybody thinks this is going to be a grinded out, ground and pound type of game. Maybe sometimes you just got to attack what you think is their strength and not be scared of it. And, it'd be nice to see us, we went after, you can't be but so scared of Richard Sherman. I mean, I feel like is you take what the defense gives you. You got Kelvin Benjamin. If it's there, go for it. If you got the one-on-one, see if you can win it. If not, I mean, the worst thing that could happen is it's like a punt.
Yep.
So, all right. Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, I think one strategy that somebody's mentioned that I hadn't thought about, but I have sort of bought into would be if we would run the hurry up and attack this Seattle defense.
Oh, did you see that great quote from Rivera today?
No. Please inform me.
Talking about the no-huddle offense and asking if that's something that we were going to see and why they didn't run it much in the first time we played them in Week 8. He said we didn't run it in Week 8 because we were still installing it. It wasn't all the way in yet, kind of alluding to the fact that it's in now, baby. So
I'm all for that. I think that would be a brilliant move.
I think so.
You don't give Seattle.
I think we'll see.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that's a great move on his part if they go that route.
Right on.
All right, let's jump in and let's give our picks for the game. We got 2 more segments to go before that special segment, the Stuart Scott coming up. Joe, who do you think's going to win this game? Is it Seattle in a runaway? Obviously, it's Joe Riolano picking.
I think it's going to be a Panthers victory. It's going to be hard fought. It's not going to be – nobody's running away with this. That's just not the kind of teams that we are. Both of our defenses are too good, I think. All right, so the Panthers win a close one, somewhere in the neighborhood of 23-20, 23-21, 24.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah, that's where I see this game going.
Nice. Mel, what do you think about this? Another guy that is the most objective of the bunch.
Hey, I chose against the Panthers twice this year. Now, we lost 8, but I picked against us twice this past year. Just try to keep it real. But, I really do think this could go one of 2 ways. Either the Panthers will get blown out because they start – I mean, if we get into that quicksand, if D'Angelo Williams fumbles early, Cam starts throwing picks, we start giving up block punts, and it's an avalanche. It could be a blowout. The other way it could go is it would be very tight, very low-scoring, close game, and that's the way I'm picking it. That's the way I see it really going. I think it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 17-10, 17-13, taking my Panthers, baby.
I like that. I think Panthers I think this game is within a field goal. I think. All right, Thomas Davis came out and said on ESPN on a national interview. They were talking about how they lost 3 times in a row to these guys, and how they were, essentially how they, everything suggests that the Panthers aren't going to win this game. He said, he wasn't being cocky or anything. He said, now look, when you look at those 3 games, he said, remember this. He said, it comes down to which team makes one more play than the other team.
What's up?
And that's what's come down to all 3 of these matches. You go back, I got an article coming out tomorrow on CarolinaCatChronicles.com. 3 games, 1 play, 1 story. And it's come down to that. Every game it's just who makes that one more set of plays, that one extra play or whatever it may be that can catch that momentum. And
or who doesn't turn it over.
That's right. What we need is we're going to need Cam Newton to play a great game. Not a phenomenal game, but a great game. And a great game means this: over 200 yards passing. We got to get in the red zone. We have not done that against Seattle in very, very often at all. And we can't have the turnovers. I want to say the Panthers pull this one out 17-13. I like to see this win. And what I got to say when it comes to Pete Carroll.
Nick Saban is a better man than you are. You could never.
I want to say one thing. You touched on it, Tony, about the red zone. In 56 or 57 possessions in all the games that these teams have played against each other over the last 3 games, there have been a total of 56, 57 possessions. There have been 4 touchdowns.
That's crazy.
That is crazy, isn't it?
Wow. The Panthers dominated the game last year until the last quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And also this game, another game, is just Russell Wilson has been poised. He's a great quarterback. He's a great player.
Where'd he go to school?
Wisconsin?
No.
We ain't putting up those little wolfy horns or ears on my show. Nah. Y'all look retarded out there in the damn bleachers doing that mess. But we do this. I'm crazy pumped about this game. I want to see us. This is the thing, I think this is why we're all picking this. The win for the Carolina Panthers. Maybe it is unreasonable. Maybe it is the homerism in us. But it is a game that can come down to a turnover. So we're in it, and our defense is playing better. We're a better team than we played them earlier. So we really have a legitimate shot to win. And Seattle has shown vulnerabilities this season. Look, they barely beat the Cardinals. They barely beat the Rams. And it's come down to who can get in the red zone, who can get in the end zone. So I'm just hoping that do you guys remember in week 7, both of us were sitting at a kind of a funky point. We were 4-3, 4-3-1 or something. They were at 500, and we thought whoever's going to win this game is going to catch some momentum. And it didn't turn out that way. Both teams went on to struggle a little bit. But imagine the momentum you can catch if you're the Carolina Panthers if you beat Seattle in Seattle.
Unbelievable.
The sky's the limit at that point. It would be awesome. So I'm picking it despite anything. I'm going to pick the Panthers. I'm rooting for them all day. Guys, we got next segment of the show. I think you guys want to do the Stuart Scott tribute first, or you want to jump in or positive or negative note?
Let's end the show on the Stuart Scott note.
Got it. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the first segment ever in Carolina Cat Chronicles, and that is time for the Ice Up Picks of the Week. Ice Up, son. Who wants to go first?
You got me queued up? I'll go if you got my picture ready.
No, I don't. Go ahead, Joey.
Well, I have been thinking about this ice up, and it's going to go to the referee in the Dallas Cowboys Detroit Lions game.
Mm.
This is the playoffs, and I'm one of those people that likes the game to be decided on the field versus decided by a flag or a penalty.
Unless you're picking it up for the Carolina Panthers.
Unless you're picking it up for the Carolina Panthers. That's the only time I would be fine with it. But in this particular game, I'm of the opinion it was such an egregious penalty. It wasn't like a questionable call. It was plain as day to me. If not one call, it was definitely another. If it wasn't pass interference, it was clearly defensive holding. It was one or the other. Okay, you can't not call anything. And I can't remember the referee's name. Was it Pete Morelli? Was that his name? I cannot remember. You have to forgive me. The referee that ended up picking up the flag.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. But that you can't. The NFL's got to get something figured out because you can't do that. Not in a playoff game. That's just. I mean, that's so unfair to the.
That was brutal.
Yeah, to the Lions who played. They played their butts off, man. I mean, they really laid it all out on the line.
Not to mention, had the Lions won, that gave the Panthers a shot at hosting the NFC Championship.
NFC Championship, exactly.
Could have cost the city millions of dollars, Morelli.
Right, in the long run, that's the problem I have.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't get to go to an NFC Championship.
Ah.
But
right.
We don't have to play Green Bay next, thank goodness.
Right, that is a positive. That's a positive. So to you, Mr. Pick Up the Flag official, I say let the players determine the outcome. Don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong. Ice up, Mr. Official.
Ice up, son.
Nice job.
All right, jump in there, Mel.
All right. Well, let me say that I love the story of a kid growing up in South Charlotte, living next door to the owner, right, and working his butt off, going to private school, and then making it to going on to Wofford, where his neighbor went to college, and then making it to the Panthers training camp, and then getting on the practice squad 2 years in a row. But if you've ever seen the movie Remember the Titans, do you remember the guy Sunshine?
Yes.
Man.
There he is.
There he is. You're looking at him.
You're looking at.
You are looking at him.
On one hand, that's Brenton Burson. On the other hand, that's Sunshine from Remember the Titans, right? And I'm telling you, if we're going to win this game, we cannot have boneheaded mistakes. Now, truth be told, I like Brenton Burson. Sunshine, look, and all. I think he's a great story. But, dude, act like you've been there before. Don't have any brain farts like you had in that game. I mean, you almost turned it over twice, and then you let one roll inside the 10, and then you make that fumble. It was awful. If we're going to win this game, Brenton Burson, you're going to have to ice up, son. Don't do it.
Ice up, Sunshine. I do have a problem with the haircut, and it's not the haircut and the ponytail or anything like that, but that silly-looking picture that they put up every time the Panthers play, and they show Sunshine with his hair down, and his fat face. Face looks fat at that moment. Just awful. Ice up, son, Brent Burson, and I don't necessarily. I like your story, but that's the reason we like it, and let's just be honest about that. My Ice Up Son pick of the week goes to, well, it really goes to an entire ESPN cast that sits outside of football games, namely Trent Dilfer, Steve Young, and the chick Susie
Colbert.
What's her name? Colbert. Yeah. But mostly this goes out to you, Steve Young. I'm so sick of your just Cam trashing. Just
Mm-hmm.
anything you can find to say how Cam is not a quarterback, how he's a runner. And then anytime this is even Trent Dilfer, when Trent Dilfer tried to say something nice and it even came out terrible, and that was Cam Newton's going to need to make plays with his legs, as that he's like, oh, so he's a running back. He says crap like this. He's a running back. He's a running threat. He's not a passing threat. Look, Steve Young, first of all, you were a freaking running quarterback, all right? Second of all, your ass got put out of the league by getting hit too much because you got concussions, and we see why. Because you got a little loopy, son. You got a little loopy in the head in your old age, and it's setting in. I hope you're part of the NFL settlement package because it's showing. What I got to say to you, Mr. Super Bowl champion, MVP, Steve Young, is you tell us that the game is not like video games. You tell us that it's this cerebral, all of this, but then you ask guys to do crap that you didn't even do. What you want them to do is play this game that you see on paper. But I can tell you one thing, Cam Newton balls out. And this goes out to you, Steve Young, is that remember this, Cam Newton can change games, man. So Cam Newton, also message from the professor, just remember, you're fucking Cam Newton. Just have fun. Just have fun. So Steve, whatever your name, Steve Young, I almost call him Steve Smith. Steve Young in your Super Bowl pedigree. Ice up, son.
Yes,
Nice
sir.
up,
Hey,
son.
real quick favorite story for you there. All right, great job, Professor. But Charles Haley, one of my favorite defensive ends ever, the best question ever asked him in an interview was, tell me about the quarterback you like to sack the most. And he said, man, when I played with the Cowboys, I loved sacking Steve Young because he squealed like a little girl every time I hit him and knocked him to the ground.
Squeak, squeak, oink, oink, Charlotte.
No offense to little girls. No offense to
Wilbur. Steve Wilbur Young. All right. That was a negative note. I even made fun of guys that have debilitating injuries late in their career. I didn't know if I needed to go there. Let's go to a sad note, and I think it's time. Mel, I want you to start this off. Tell us what happened this week and how big of an issue this is and how this touched you. Stuart Scott passed away, a legend in sports broadcasting.
Yeah. Let me say a couple words about that. And on the one hand, it is sad. You know, the man passed away at age 49, left behind 2 daughters. But, you know, something I don't talk about a whole heck of a lot, but, you know, I had a brain tumor when I was 12 years old. And there was a time when it thought it was cancerous, and there was a time that didn't think I was going to live very long. So I know what Stuart Scott was going through. But, you know, by the grace of God, I stayed around, and I'm still here today. But Stuart Scott said it best. He said, you don't lose to cancer by dying. You lose to cancer by not living your life the way you're supposed to live your life. And I didn't say that perfectly, but that's the message that Stuart Scott had to say. But on the other hand, the story of Stuart Scott is awesome, man. You know, and you can't help but be filled with joy and happiness because, you know, I grew up in a small town. It was a great town, great people. Didn't have the most diversity, right? You know, there's a lot of people that look just like me. As I went into high school and started meeting other folks that weren't just like me, I learned to embrace diversity. And, you know, right now I manage a team of people, and I think diversity adds a whole lot to my team. And Stuart Scott did a lot for this country in terms of enlightening people to the importance of diversity. Before Stuart Scott, SportsCenter was a bunch of stuffy, middle-aged white dudes that talked about how good sports was. Stuart Scott brought a little bit of hip-hop, a little bit of street cred, a little bit of flavor to SportsCenter, and it's never been the same, and it's only better for it. You know, I mean, the guy got me excited about sports and really helped me envision the importance of diversity in sports and in everyday life. Stuart Scott was a great man. 49 years, but a life well lived. 49 years well spent. So booyah. Dude is cool as the other side of the pillow. Stuart Scott, you're going to be missed, man. But no,
Yeah, is Joey, I want to jump in here first because you're typically more eloquent than I am. And I think that you can give some insight into some of this kind of the hardship that a family goes through and some things like that. But what I see about Stuart Scott is a North Carolina guy, went to UNC Chapel Hill. He dated a lady that I work with, which is kind of cool. I mean, now it wasn't anything like big or important, but she went to Carolina at the same time and some stuff. So I think it's cool. Is this what I think about Stuart Scott and Aaron touched upon this is kind of bringing, changing the flavor of SportsCenter is that Stuart Scott is the host that speaks to my generation, maybe even the one right after me, as in what SportsCenter was and can be, what it was, because I don't know if it's it's not there anymore. But what he did is he married sports with journalism. He married regular people with real journalism. So he found a way to convey strong messages to people that maybe didn't speak in the terms or the lingo, but he never handled things lightly. Even though he had the catchphrases, he was a professional to the T. And what he did is he kind of did what I think and I'm not trying to compare what we do any means to what Stuart Scott is. What you're trying to do is bring something that is very serious, important to a lot of people, but then bring it to people in a very conversational manner without watering it down. And so Stuart Scott did that, and so that's what's going to speak to me is that he is the Chris Berman of our generation, the fun Chris Berman, the cool Chris Berman, and I like Chris Berman too, so I'm not knocking on him. Joey, you got anything to what are your thoughts on this?
It's incredibly sad, and it's something that I can attest to because I had a very hard-fought battle with cancer. I had cancer of the tonsils in 2006. My son, Eric, was born in April of 2006, and I was diagnosed with cancer in July of 2006. There was a time in my battle, my mother-in-law is a nurse at the hospital where I was treated. And one of my attending physician's partners was on call over the weekend, and she happened to walk in to where he was and heard him talking about me. So he didn't know that we were related. So she asked him what about him, referring to me. And he looked at her and said, well, he's going to die, don't you? And, I didn't find that out till, months later, of course. But that's where I was. I honestly didn't know if I'd see my son grow up. I missed out on most of the first year of his life. My first real memory of my son, other than him being born and a few months that I was with him, I spent the 5 months out of a year in the hospital, out of that 1 year in the hospital. So I missed out a lot. The first real memory I have after my initial stay in the hospital is him coming down the hallway to see me with my wife, and me stepping out of my room to see him coming, and him putting his arms out to me and saying, Dada. That served as motivation for me to keep fighting. There was a time where I didn't know if I wanted to because the chemotherapy and the radiation were so physically demanding. They took such a toll on your body, so much so that it started to affect your spirit. Just do you want to keep going? It's so painful. It's so exhausting. There's so many things that make you just want to quit. But thinking about my son and my wife served as that motivation, and it eats me up inside knowing that his children no longer have their father. I know they've got great memories and they'll be able to cherish those forever, but he's not going to be there when his daughters get married. They're not going to be able. He's not going to be able to give them away. And I'm thankful. I thank God that I'm still here. I thank God that there were so many people who were praying for me. This isn't about me. This is about Stuart Scott. And the world is a less better place now that he's gone. And all I can say is pray for his family. Pray for his daughters and his wife and mother and brothers. Anyone that it was his family, pray for them, because cancer is an evil, evil thing. And I'm one of the few who are able to say, I had it and I survived it. There aren't a whole lot of people that can say that. But pray for Stuart Scott's family and those who knew him, because I'm sure they have a tremendous hole in their heart where he brought joy and happiness to them.
Joey, thank you for sharing that with us. We got a lot of people watching right now, but also, can you tell us your favorite memory of Stuart Scott?
My favorite memory of Stuart Scott is when he referred to somebody's homies, referring to somebody who was, maybe scoring some points or something, and he referred to their homies, Pookie and Ray Ray. That was my favorite Stuart Scottism, if you would.
Pookie and Ray Ray. All right, guys. Rest in peace, Stuart Scott, and prayers to his family. And if you have somebody that is ill in your family, give them a call, send them an email. Just say hello and check in on them. It means a lot to people. Even if you can't, this is one thing that I know, or I believe, I don't know, is that I can't do a lot for people monetarily. Physically, I got 3 kids, I got a wife, I got 2 jobs, I got all of this. But what I can do is be a friend to people and be an ear, and I think that is important. So if you have that, folks, reach out, and we're in it with you guys too. If you want to send us anything, we'll be happy to help in any way we can. Folks, it's been a great night. Been a wonderful night for Panther Nation. We're going to Seattle. We're going to come away with a big win. We had a great interview with Bene Benwikere, Sticky Wiki, Mr. Sticky Wiki. This is here, parting gifts. Everybody's been blowing up lately on Twitter. I know that. Even Joey, who's only on Twitter between the hours of 10 and 11 at night, is blowing up. Joey, tell them how they can get after you.
And you can reach me on Twitter at Joe Riolano. I have been more busy on there lately. This postseason run by the Panthers has gotten me all Twittered up. So,
and by the way, that's like 1/1000th of half of the people that are watching what they do on Twitter.
Exactly.
Joey's like, why am I in this conversation? I don't even know what's going on. But hit Joey up, that freaking Puerto Rican. We're glad he's here with us every Tuesday, man. I can't tell you, as my brother from another mother, my mother's a lot crazier than his. I'm not going to tell you that. But his dad is crazier than mine.
That's for sure.
Mel, hit him up and tell him what's your work you're proud of. We haven't even mentioned it this week.
All right. Well, hey, something that I'm very proud of out there on catchronicles.com is a tab up at the top called Mel's Top 64. If you're into the draft, go check it out, man. Put in a lot of work, a lot of film study over the last several months, narrowing down my top 64 prospects for the NFL draft and how I think each one may or may not fit in with the Panthers and if we're targeting them or not. Now, there's some in there that I got to change. Andrus Pete announced today he changed his mind. He is going into the draft, but I'm waiting until after January 15th to make changes because that's the final deadline. But you want to get out there, you want to watch some film, you want to see it from a Panthers perspective, go check it out. That's pretty hot. We're getting a lot of hits on that page, so proud of that. I'm also the Panthers analyst over at drafttech.com. It's a new mock draft coming out tomorrow. Very active and good at what they do over there, so definitely go check them out. And I'm on Twitter probably more than I should be, so check me out there at Panthers Draft.
Yeah, Mel runs Twitter. If he saw my Twitter setup, he would be a beast. You got to get that TweetDeck app for the desktop, man. That's the way to go. You can own Twitter. My name's Tony Dunn. It's the Professor. This is the C3 podcast. Every Tuesday night, 10 o'clock. We ran way long this week, guys. Don't worry. Is that you don't have to worry about this week in and week out, but we're glad you stuck with us. We had a huge audience tonight, had a lot of activity. I want to thank Bene Benwikere for coming on. Wonderful dude. Want to thank every single person that supports us. You know, we don't know what we're doing yet, but we think it's going to be great one day. So thanks for checking out the C3 podcast every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. And this Sunday is going to be just one fist fight in the schoolyard, and I can't wait. So you guys, thanks a lot. Panther Nation, keep pounding.
Booyah.
Pookie.